that there's this invisible force kind of guiding what you watch, the route you drive, maybe even who you date. Well, today we're pulling back the curtain on that very force. We're talking about algorithms, the hidden architects of our modern world. Let's get right into it. Seriously, just take a second to think about that. When you open up YouTube or TikTok or whatever your go-to app is, who's really calling the shots on what you see? Is it you? Or is it something else?
And look, this goes way beyond just your social media feed. These systems are absolutely everywhere. They're suggesting what you should binge watch next. They're finding the fastest way for you to get to work. They play a huge part in deciding if you can get a loan. And yeah, they might be the reason you don't even get a chance at your next job interview, filtering you out before a person ever even sees your name.
So what even is an algorithm? When you boil it all down, it's just a recipe, a set of instructions a computer follows. It takes in a bunch of data, that's the input, and then it follows a bunch of steps to produce a result, the output. Sounds simple enough, right? But the thing is, this simple recipe is now being used to make some of the most critical and complex decisions that affect all of us.
You know, a really good way to think about them is like they're digital mirrors. They're constantly learning from the insane amounts of data we all create, and they reflect our world, our habits, our interests, and yeah, our biases right back at us. But that leads to the really important question. What happens when that mirror is cracked, when the reflection it shows us is distorted?
Well, this isn't just some sci-fi idea. The mathematician and data scientist Kathy O'Neill actually gave these distorted digital mirrors a very chilling name: weapons of math destruction. And believe me, it's a name they've definitely earned.
As O'Neill herself puts it, when these algorithms are built using biased data, they don't solve our society's problems. They actually make them worse. They find the inequalities that already exist, and then they lock them into place, encoding them as if there's some kind of objective fact. They, quote, perpetuate our existing social stratification, essentially automating injustice.
And this really gets to the heart of the problem, right? The massive gap between the promise and the reality. We're promised that these algorithms are going to be super efficient, totally objective, and perfectly personalized for us. But the reality? Well, it's often systems that are totally opaque, we have no idea how they work, systems that are full of bias, and systems that can cause real, lasting damage to people's lives.
Now, it's important to remember, not every algorithm is a weapon of math destruction, or a WMD. O'Neill points out 3 key ingredients that turn an algorithm toxic. First, it's opaque. Its inner workings are a secret. Second, it's scalable, meaning it can affect millions of people all at once. And third, it's damaging. It causes real harm, and that harm usually falls on the people who are already the most vulnerable.
And this isn't abstract. It has a real human cost. I mean, just look at the true story of a teacher assessment tool that was used in Washington, D.C. There was this fantastic, highly rated teacher who was fired because an algorithm gave her a bad score. And why? Because the model was just too simple. It couldn't possibly understand the messy, complex reality of her classroom, and it judged her unfairly. It completely ruined her career. But the damage isn't just a bunch of one-off mistakes. No, it's much more dangerous than that. These algorithms can kickstart a toxic, reinforcing loop that just amplifies bias more and more over time.
So here's how it works. Step 1, you start with a society, our society, that already has plenty of historical prejudice and inequality built right in. Step 2, you collect data from that society. Data about arrests, about loans, you name it. And that data is, of course, stained by those very same biases. Step 3, you feed all that bias data into an algorithm, which just learns these patterns as if they're the absolute truth. And finally, step 4, the algorithm starts making biased decisions that reinforce the original problem, creating a vicious cycle where inequality gets automated and just keeps growing. And you can see this toxic feedback loop playing out in some of the most important parts of our lives. In the job market, hiring tools can accidentally learn to screen out amazing candidates just because of their background. In finance, algorithms can deny loans to entire neighborhoods, making it impossible to build wealth. And in the criminal justice system, predictive policing tools can lead to harsher sentences and more surveillance for minority groups.
I know, this is all pretty heavy stuff. If this explainer is getting the wheels turning for you, do me a quick favor and smash that like button. I'd also genuinely love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever had a weird experience where you felt like you were being judged by a machine?
Okay, so things might seem a little bleak, but here's the good news. People are starting to fight back. All over the world, there's a movement growing that's focused on one really important idea: algorithmic accountability.
So how do we do it? How do we hold these incredibly powerful systems accountable?
Well, experts are building a whole toolbox of solutions, things like public transparency, so we can all actually see which algorithms are being used to make decisions about us. Or impact assessments, which would force organizations to study the potential for harm before they unleash a new system. And of course, regular audits by independent experts who can pop the hood and make sure these things are actually fair. And hey, this isn't just theory. It's actually happening. You've got pioneering cities like Amsterdam and Helsinki that are creating public algorithm registers. You can think of it like a library of all the automated systems the city is using. It allows any citizen to look up how these decisions are being made. It's a massive, massive step towards real transparency. At the end of the day, all of these efforts are really about one thing: trying to stop ourselves from just automating the injustices of the past, and instead to consciously start coding a much fairer future for everyone. So, if there is just one thing you take away from all of this, please let it be this. Algorithms are not these magical black boxes that spit out objective truth. They're just tools, they're reflections, and they are only as good, as smart, and as fair as the data and the values we decide to feed into them. And that really leaves us with the biggest question of all. If these algorithms are just holding up a mirror to society, showing us all of our flaws and all of our prejudices, then how do we fix that reflection? Do we need to fix the code? Or do we maybe need to start by fixing ourselves? Thank you so much for joining me today on Bytes. If you found this useful or interesting, please make sure you're subscribed and have those notifications turned on so you don't miss what's next. Sharing this is honestly the best way to help spread awareness on a topic that is just so important. We'll see you in the next one.